It is indeed a pleasure to introduce the next young man. He's been on the road for the last 4 or 5 years, making them laugh all over the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to introduce to you John Loss. Come on up.
Well, it's great to be back in Kenosha. I knew this was an important time, so I decided to dress up. That's why I'm rocking these relaxed fit skinny jeans tonight. The sad part is, this is the way my skin looks like underneath here. I've been banned from every public school, public pool and school. It's great to be back. I left here 50 years ago, proud graduate of Trimper High School, class of 1969. We got our Trimper folks here? All right. Sweet. I know. And ended up in Kansas City, where I started a nonprofit, which is what I call my law firm. Yes, I am a lawyer. My last name is Loss. Feel free to tell me that's a great name for a lawyer. I've never heard that before. Or you can tell me, ask me if I'm at a loss, or I'm a partial loss, or total loss. First time ever. But I decided rather than fight it, I'd embrace it. So you can read all about me on my website, yourlossismygain.com. Check it out. I'm running Groupons on speeding tickets and divorces. For some reason, those two seem to go together. I was ordained as a minister of the Universal Church of Life this summer. So now I offer a package deal for $500. I will do the prenup. I'll do the ceremony. I'll do 10 minutes of stand-up at the reception. I'll give you a $200 deposit on a divorce. You stay married for more than 6 years, you get the $200 back. People often ask me, what made a lawyer become a comedian? Well, it's easy. I realized I've been making groups of people laugh my whole life. Unfortunately, they were juries. So I said, why not try to do it on purpose? And then they all say, what kind of law do you practice? Well, it's easier to tell you what kind of law I don't practice. I don't do criminal law, although I did try to for a while. I watched a lot of Law and Orders and took on some criminal clients. But after the ninth one walked away in handcuffs after the trial with the bailiff, I said, maybe I'm doing something wrong and maybe these guys are guilty. So I wrote a book, Just Plead Guilty. It's got my picture on the back. This is a real book. Became a bestseller. I didn't really think it through. More people bought it, the fewer people needed my services. So, anyways, but I've been able to scratch out a living over these years, but I just love doing comedy. I'm here visiting my dad. Is anybody here visiting like a relative from out of town? All right. Do you find you reach a period in your visit, which you call the danger zone? You know, like in my case, 2 days, 4 hours and 20 minutes.
About 4 hours.
Yeah. Then the wheels start to come off. But problem is I'm here till Monday, so it's going to be all right. I'll buy you a drink afterwards. We can talk about it. But I'm an empty nester. Make sure my kids didn't move back in. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment. I have no sympathy for my friends who complain about their kids moving back in. It's their own fault for having a house with too many rooms. And when I say empty nest, it really is an empty nest. There's dirt and grass and branches all over the place. Instead of a vacuum, I have a leaf blower and a rake. I did decide it was time for me to get out. So I took to the internet to look at the dating sites. I checked out Our Time. It wasn't. I checked out Plenty of Fish in the Sea. There weren't. Farmers Only. I wasn't. Then I found the perfect website. Oh, this is great. It's called it'salmostover.com. No questions, no pictures. Send in your latest 401k statement. Any special dietary needs? I found a nice lady who could eat solid food. Picked her up at the usual time, 4:30. We made it to the restaurant. Early bird special, no problem. She started to tell me that she got up every morning at 5 to call her son. I said, how come? Well, he's in the Marines. He has a hard time waking up. This bothered me on two levels. One, that our national security depended on her remembering to call her son at 5, but more importantly, it told me she was what you call a helicopter mom, kind of always hovering over her kid. I was just the opposite. I was a submarine dad. I had no idea what was going on in the surface. When my daughter was in high school, Titanic was the big movie, 3 hours long, 5 Fridays in a row. She told me each Friday she was off to see Titanic. Never occurred to me that this just gave her 3 hours off the grid. We raised her right. 10 years later, she came to me and said, Dad, I got to confess, I never saw Titanic. Started to wonder what else had she told me. That might not be true. Maybe the school library didn't stay open until 2 o'clock. Maybe school didn't let out in April. And maybe every Friday of her senior year was not bring a six-pack for the homeless day. We sent a lot of beer to school, felt good about it. Despite our parenting styles, I did go out on several more dates with this lady, and we actually kind of became an item. We had the usual problems couples have. She liked to watch Golden Girls, I liked to watch Matlock. As long as they came on at different times, everything was cool. Cable company changed the schedule. Both came out at the same time. Neither one of us knew how to use the DVR to make a recording, so we had to break up. This is particularly devastating to me because I was looking forward to finally bringing a woman home when I visited my dad, because he stopped asking, but I know he's always wondering what's going on. But I'm not a quitter. So I'd heard about this thing called Tinder. You guys heard about Tinder? For those who don't know, you use your cell phone, you swipe right, swipe left. Very quickly I realized I was fishing in the wrong pond. But then I was reading my AARP magazine and I saw an advertisement for this thing called Cinder, which is really the adult version of Tinder. Now for this, you need special equipment. You need a landline and you need a rotary phone. Does everybody here know what a rotary phone is? You'd be surprised. And then you just dial right or you dial left. Well, not much was going on for a couple days, but then I added to my profile, I can drive at night. Wow, Eureka, phone's ringing off the hook. Unfortunately, I didn't find any suitable candidates to bring home to Dad. Now, like I say, when I'm home with my dad, we always reach that point of tension, and inevitably he says, I'm going to take you out of the will. I always thought this was an empty threat because you'd have to pay a lawyer, and that's the last thing you'd ever want to do. This time, though, I came in. I walked in. He pointed to this blackboard in the kitchen. He had his will written in chalk on there, part listing me as an heir. And he's been walking around all the time with an eraser in his hand. I've been on my best behavior. So far, so good. Oh, my goodness. I have had kind of a rough fall. Deer hit my car, and anybody's had that unfortunate event happen to you. I was going about 70 miles an hour, and I'm ashamed to say it was a hit and run. I just kept going. Somebody must have got my license plate numbers, because the next day I got a phone call, and the guy said, "I'm the lawyer representing the family of the deer you killed." Well, I said, I thought it was a suicide because he wasn't crossing where one of those deer crossing signs were. And it was just before hunting season. I think he just had enough. He says, "Oh no, this deer was planning to go to medical school. And we're going to sue you for all the income he would have earned up until age 65. Now, I don't think deer live that long, but that's what he claimed. So immediately I hung up. I knew this was a big deal. Called the general, see if I had coverage. General said, "Good news and bad news. Yes, we offered deer collision insurance. Bad news, you were too cheap to buy it." So right then, I knew this case was going to cost me big bucks. Wait. No, I'm not done. Here's the audience participation. There's another ending to that. Right then, I knew this case was going to cost me a lot of... Yes! Hey! You guys are great. I knew Kenosha audiences were smarter than anywhere else. Oh, my goodness. I did go to Grandparents' Day at my granddaughter's school. Couldn't help but notice all the attractive grandmothers that were there by themselves. So when I got home, I thought, this might be a way to meet people. So I've been going to Grandparents' Days at schools where I don't have any grandkids. I know this sounds kind of creepy, but you got to do it right. First thing, you got to sit. There's always 4 or 5 kids that don't have a grandparent show up. So you got to sit close to them, not close enough to scare them, and be very vague in your answers. And then, of course, you got to close the deal in the refreshments in the cafeteria. Now, the tricky part of this is figuring out where Grandpa is. Is he dead? Is he at work? Does he have a stroke? I'm still working that out, but I think this has got a lot of possibilities. Everybody survived the Christmas season. I think I can feel the stress going off of your shoulders. I noticed the other day that my credit rating had gone up. Hadn't done anything different. Stayed up for 2 or 3 days. Then it dawned on me. Somebody had stolen my identity and was doing better with it than I was. I didn't report it. I went out and got a car loan for the first time in my life. But a few days later, it went back down. Then the awful truth hit me. I was the only person in America who had had their identity stolen and then had it returned to them. You guys have been great. I really appreciate your being here. I'm going to leave you with this. I live in Kansas City now, and I like to go to these big box stores. We have a Costco. I'm sure you got stores like that up here. At our Costco, you can buy a casket, but you have to buy 3 of them shrink wrapped together. I bought a 50-gallon tub of mayonnaise 2 years ago. I think it's still good, although I do hallucinate when I use it on a sandwich. But the other day, as I was pushing my 60 rolls of toilet paper towards the cash register, I was thinking, in view of my age and the advances in adult diaper technology, this is probably the last toilet paper I'm ever going to buy. I'm John Loss. Thank you very much.